The night he told her to leave, the rain hadn't stopped for hours. The sound of thunder drowned out her voice as she begged him to listen, to believe her, to remember who she was before everything fell apart. But he didn't care anymore. He stood by the doorway, his jaw tight, his suitcase packed for her. "You can take whatever you want," he said coldly. "Just don't come back." She looked at him one last time, her eyes red and trembling, then turned away, clutching her small bag against her chest. No one saw her again after that night. 6 years passed. He moved on. A new life, a new house, a new wife. The memory of her faded, buried under years of comfort and success. To everyone around him, he was the man who had done the right thing, who had gotten rid of a woman who, as rumor said, had betrayed him. But every now and then, when he passed the window during storms, he thought he saw her silhouette out there, standing in the rain, just watching. He would blink, and she'd be gone. Then, one afternoon, just as the sun dipped behind the hills, a knock came at his door. It wasn't loud, just firm, steady, unhurried. When he opened it, the world seemed to tilt. There she was. The same woman he had thrown away, standing on his porch, her hair darker now, her face calmer but harder, colder. Beside her stood 2 small children, twins, no older than 6, each holding her hand tightly. He froze. The color drained from his face. She looked at him, her voice quiet but sharp enough to cut through the silence. "You never asked for the truth," she said. "But you're about to hear it." He couldn't speak at first. The sight of her standing there, after all those years, felt impossible, like a ghost he'd buried returning to life. The twins clung to her sides, their big brown eyes wide, studying him like they knew something he didn't. She didn't move. She just stood there, her face calm, as if she'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. Finally, he stepped back and muttered, "What are you doing here?" "Coming home," she said simply. The words hit harder than he expected. Home. This house wasn't hers anymore. He had built a new life here, a perfect one, without the mess, the arguments, the accusations. He tried to laugh it off, to tell her she had no right to be here, but the sound died in his throat. Something in her eyes stopped him. They weren't the same eyes that once begged him to stay. These eyes didn't plead. They warned. She looked past him, her gaze landing on the polished furniture, the family portraits on the wall. One of them showed him with his new wife, smiling. Her lips tightened. "Nice place," she said softly, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. He wanted to shout, to stop her, but the twins followed her in, quiet, polite, as if they already belonged there. "Get out," he said, his voice breaking slightly. "You don't belong here anymore." She turned to face him, her tone calm but cutting. "You said I didn't belong the night you threw me out. But you never asked why you never asked what really happened." He clenched his fists. "Because I didn't need to. You lied to me. I protected you," she interrupted, her voice rising just enough to silence him. "You think you knew everything, but you knew nothing." The twins shifted uncomfortably. One of them, the boy, glanced up at her. "Mom," he whispered, "can we sit?" She nodded gently. "Go ahead, sweetheart." They climbed onto the couch, their small shoes leaving wet marks on the floor. He watched them closely now, something twisting in his chest. The boy's jawline. The girl's eyes. The shape of their faces. A chill ran down his spine. She saw the recognition dawn on him and didn't look away. "You see it, don't you?" she said quietly. "I wanted to tell you before, but you didn't give me the chance." His voice trembled. "No, you can't mean." She stepped closer. "They're yours." The words hit him like thunder. He staggered back, shaking his head. "No, that's impossible. You were already pregnant," she finished for him. "Before you threw me out. Before you called me every name you could think of. You believed a lie and never once asked me to tell my side." He stared at her, memories flooding back, the fights, the accusations, the rumors that she'd been unfaithful. His friends had told him she was seeing someone else, that she was after his money, that she'd ruined his reputation. And he had believed them. She walked past him and touched the photo of his new wife on the mantel. "You built all this," she said softly, "on a story that wasn't true." He swallowed hard, his voice barely a whisper. "Then why come back now?" Her expression changed. For the first time, Something cold flickered across her face, something he couldn't name. "Because the truth didn't just destroy me," she said. "It destroyed everything you thought you knew. And now, it's time you finally see what your choices cost." He tried to steady himself, to hold on to the anger that had always protected him, but it slipped away. There was something in her tone, a quiet certainty, that made his stomach tighten. She wasn't here for revenge. Not exactly. She was here for something deeper. The twins watched from the couch, silent but knowing. The girl tilted her head slightly, studying him. "Mom," she asked softly, "is he the man from the picture?" Her mother nodded. "Yes, sweetheart. That's him." The man felt the weight of their gaze on him, small but piercing, and suddenly the room felt smaller, the air heavier. His pulse pounded in his ears as she turned back toward him, her voice calm again. "You thought you could erase me," she said. "But you forgot that some truths don't stay buried." And before he could respond, she reached into her bag and pulled out a sealed envelope. "This," she said, laying it on the table between them, "is everything you never wanted to know." He stared at the envelope like it might explode. It was small, yellowed at the edges, and sealed tight, but it carried the weight of something far bigger than paper. His throat felt dry. "What is that?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she sat down, crossing her legs with quiet control. The twins sat beside her, their eyes darting between the two adults, sensing the tension even if they didn't understand it. "You'll see," she said at last. "But before you open it, you need to hear something first." He stayed standing, his hands buried in his pockets. "You've already said enough." Her lips curved into a faint, sad smile. "No," she said. "I've barely started." The air felt charged, like the moments before a storm. She looked up at him, her voice steady, calm, but edged with the kind of pain that only time could sharpen. "The night you threw me out, you said you never wanted to see me again. You said I'd ruined your life. Do you remember that?" He swallowed. "I was angry. You thought wrong," she cut in, her tone firm. "You believed lies because they were easier than trusting me. But do you know what I did after you closed that door? I walked out with nothing. No money. No home. And I was already carrying them." She placed a hand on her son's shoulder. "I found work, whatever I could get. Some days we barely ate. Some nights, I slept sitting up because there wasn't enough room for all of us on the bed. And while you were building a new life, I was trying to keep 2 new lives alive." He shifted uneasily, guilt twisting inside him. "Why didn't you come back sooner? Why wait 6 years?" Her eyes met his. "Because I didn't want pity. I wanted proof." He frowned. "Proof of what?" She nodded toward the envelope. "That you destroyed something that could have saved you. That the same people who told you I betrayed you were the ones stealing from you." He froze. "What are you talking about?" She leaned forward, her voice lowering to a whisper. "Your company. The one your family took over after you divorced me. They built their fortune off your name, didn't they? The new contracts, the sudden expansion, the projects you said were impossible when we were together." His heart started to pound. "How do you know about that?" Her gaze didn't waver. "Because I worked for one of those companies under a different name. I found the paperwork, the transactions, money funneled into fake accounts, signed with your signature. Only, it wasn't yours. It was forged. They used your divorce to push you out, then they took everything you built. And when I tried to tell you, your brother made sure you never got my messages." He stared at her, his mind spinning. "That's not possible. My brother, your brother," she interrupted sharply, "was the one who paid the lawyer to frame me. The one who told you I cheated. The one who made sure you hated me enough to walk away." He staggered back, gripping the edge of the counter for balance. His chest felt tight, his pulse wild. "No, no, he wouldn't. He did," she said quietly. "And he still is. The gas stations, the land investments, all those family assets you thought were gone, they're under his name now. But the truth is, they were yours all along." Silence filled the room. The twins watched, wide-eyed, not fully understanding but sensing the shift in the air. He stared down at the envelope again, his hands trembling as he reached for it. The seal cracked open with a soft tear. Inside were several documents, each one stamped, signed, and marked with names he knew too well. his father, his brother, the company's logo, and on the last page, his own forged signature. He sank into the chair, his world tilting. How did you get this? She leaned back, her voice quiet but unflinching. Because while you were rebuilding your pride, I was rebuilding the truth. He ran a hand through his hair, shaking his head. I don't understand. Why tell me this now? Why not just ruin them yourself? Her eyes softened slightly. Because this was never about revenge. It was about justice, and about you finally knowing who really stood by you, even when you turned your back. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and for the first time in years, he didn't see the woman he'd blamed. He saw the woman he'd lost. The one who'd carried his children, fought his battles in silence, and somehow still come back with proof of everything he refused to see. The envelope lay open on the table between them, and for a long time, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the faint ticking of the clock and the soft breathing of the two children watching their parents, one broken by guilt, the other by truth. He sat there, staring at the papers scattered across the table, his fingers gripping the edges like they might disappear if he let go. Each line he read twisted something inside him tighter. Transaction records, signed deals, deposits into accounts he'd never heard of. His own brother's name was everywhere, carefully hidden behind false companies and fake signatures. His stomach turned. You're lying, he said weakly, but even as the words left his mouth, he knew they were hollow. He could see the dates, the seals, the handwriting that wasn't his. He'd been blind, willfully blind, for years. She didn't move. She just watched him, calm, her hands folded in her lap. I wish I were, she said softly. But I stopped lying the night you threw me out. After that, I had nothing left to protect. He rubbed his temples, the world spinning. Why didn't you go to the police? Or a lawyer? Her gaze dropped to the twins. Because I had these two to protect. And because your brother isn't just greedy, he's dangerous. The people he works with, they don't leave witnesses. A chill ran through him. He looked at her then, really looked, and noticed the faint scar along her wrist, the exhaustion in her eyes that went deeper than lack of sleep. She had lived through something he couldn't even begin to imagine. What did he do to you? He asked quietly. Her eyes flickered with something dark. He tried to make me disappear. The words hit him like a hammer. What? I had the first set of documents, she said. I'd figured out what he was doing years ago. I called the lawyer, the same one who handled your divorce, to tell him what I found. That night, someone broke into my apartment. They didn't take money. They didn't take jewelry. They took the files. I barely made it out with the twins. He swallowed hard, the room closing in around him. You mean, yes, she said simply. Your brother paid them to scare me. But they did more than that. They burned everything. My apartment. My job. My life. That's why I disappeared. Because if I stayed, they would have killed me. His breath caught. The idea of his own blood, his brother, doing something like that was unthinkable, and yet, the evidence sat in front of him. She leaned forward. Do you understand now? I didn't come back for revenge. I came back because I finally found enough proof to expose him. But I can't do it alone. You're still legally tied to all of this. Your name is the one they used. If I go public, they'll come after me again. But if you do it, she paused, her voice softening. You can end it. He sat in silence, his thoughts tearing in two directions. For years, he had told himself she was the villain, that she had betrayed him, ruined his life. But now, as the pieces fit together, he saw it clearly. He had been the one used, manipulated, turned against the only person who had truly cared about him. He looked at the twins again. They were whispering to each other quietly, holding hands. Something in his chest broke. His children, the ones he never knew he had. Do they know? He asked. She nodded. Not everything. Just that their father made a mistake, but he wasn't a bad man. I wanted them to decide for themselves who you were when they were ready. He turned away, guilt pressing like a weight on his chest. I don't know if I can fix this. Her voice was steady. You don't have to fix everything. Just tell the truth. He stood up and began pacing, his hands shaking. If what you're saying is true, my brother has connections everywhere. Money, lawyers, people who'll bury this before it even hits the light of day. Then we find a way around them, she said firmly. I've spent 6 years running from the truth. You've spent 6 years pretending not to see it. Maybe it's time we both stop hiding. Her words hit something deep inside him, not anger this time, but something older, heavier, regret. He sank into the chair again, running his hand over the envelope. You really think we can beat him? Her lips curved into a faint, tired smile. I think the truth has been waiting long enough. For the first time, he didn't see her as the woman he'd thrown out. He saw her as the woman who'd survived. The one who had built a life out of nothing, carried his children, and still found the strength to come back. The air between them shifted. The rain outside had stopped, replaced by a thick, heavy silence. He looked at her, his voice barely above a whisper. What happens now? She reached into her bag again and slid another folder across the table, thicker, heavier. Now, she said, we finish what they started. He opened the folder slowly. Inside were photos, letters, legal files, bank transfers, all of it meticulously documented. Years of secrets that could destroy everything his brother had built. And then, beneath the papers, he found something else, a birth certificate. 2, in fact. His name written clearly in both. He looked up, his eyes meeting hers. For the first time in years, he didn't feel anger or guilt. He felt something closer to fear, not of her, but of the truth that had been buried too long. The twins looked up at him then, and he knew everything had changed. He didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the documents spread across the table, the signatures, the wire transfers, the lies that had built his family's empire. And behind all of it, his brother's face. The same brother who had stood beside him at his wedding. The one who had held his shoulder when his marriage fell apart, pretending to comfort him while twisting the knife deeper. The clock ticked past 3 in the morning when he finally stood. The rain had started again, light but steady. He looked at the twins sleeping on the couch, their small bodies curled up under a blanket. They looked peaceful, unaware of the storm about to break over their heads. He turned toward her. She was still awake, sitting by the window, her eyes fixed on the dark street outside. You're not sleeping either, he said quietly. She didn't turn around. I stopped sleeping properly a long time ago. He walked closer, his voice low. You shouldn't have had to do this alone. She looked at him then, her expression unreadable. But I did, she said simply. Because I had to. Because you made sure I had no one else. Her words stung, but they were true. He couldn't even defend himself. All he could do was stand there, drowning in guilt. I want to make it right, he said finally. Her gaze softened. Then start by believing me. He nodded slowly, then looked back at the papers on the table. If we go public with this, he said, he'll come after us. He won't let this go. He's already coming, she said. He just doesn't know we are ready this time. The next morning, everything moved fast. She'd already planned it all, copies of the files stored in multiple places, the original sealed in a safety deposit box under a different name. She'd even contacted a journalist she trusted, someone who'd been investigating Harper Industries for years. He watched her work, her calm precision, the way her mind moved 3 steps ahead of everything. It hit him then. She'd been preparing for this moment for years. Around noon, his phone buzzed. A message from his brother. ***, we need to talk. Now. ***, he stared at it, his stomach twisting. He knows. She didn't even flinch. Good, she said. Let him come. They met at the gas station that afternoon, the same one she had inherited years ago, the place he used to mock her for clinging to. Now it was the center of everything. The sky was dark, heavy with clouds again, and the wind carried the faint smell of rain and gasoline. He arrived first, his car crunching over the gravel. Moments later, another car pulled up beside his, sleek, black, expensive. His brother stepped out, wearing the same smirk he'd worn his whole life. Well, his brother said, looking around, this is a surprise. I didn't think you'd still be interested in this dump. He didn't answer. She stepped forward from behind him, calm and steady. Some dumps have secrets worth digging for, she said. His brother's smirk faltered for just a second. Then it returned, colder this time. You, he said. Still clinging to fairy tales, I see. What did you tell him this time? That I'm the big bad wolf. She didn't move. You're worse. His brother laughed. but the sound was hollow. You think anyone's going to believe you? You have no credibility, no proof. She has both, he interrupted, his voice sharp. And so do I. That wiped the smirk off his brother's face. You don't know what you're talking about. I know enough, he said. I know about the forged documents, the hidden accounts, the money you funneled through the company, the deals you made behind my back. I saw it all. For the first time, his brother's mask slipped. His jaw tightened, and a muscle in his cheek twitched. You shouldn't have gone looking, he said quietly. You don't understand who you're dealing with. Then help me, he said. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me she's lying. But his brother didn't answer. He just looked between the two of them, her calm, steady gaze and his trembling hands, and something dark flickered in his eyes. You should have stayed out of this, he said. He turned as if to leave, but she stepped forward. If you walk away now, she said softly, you'll lose everything. The world's going to know who you really are. His brother's smile returned, colder than before. You think you can take me down? You're already 6 years too late. He got into his car, slammed the door, and drove off without another word, gravel spraying behind his tires. The silence that followed was thick, heavy with something that felt like both victory and dread. He turned to her, his voice shaking. He's not going to let this go. She looked out toward the horizon, where the clouds were breaking just enough for a faint line of light to shine through. He doesn't have to, she said, because the truth is already out. And as they stood there, the faint sound of sirens began to echo in the distance, growing louder with every passing second.